to call the regular meeting of September 9th, 2019 to order. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Here.
O'Brien.
Present.
Balmas.
Present.
Hood.
Here.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
6 present.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item of business is approval of the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion by
Second.
trustee Garner, second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
6 aye.
Motion carries. Patrick, please read the consent agenda into the record.
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the August 19, 2019 and August 26, 2019 Village Board meetings. Item number 2, approval of granting a temporary Class 9 liquor license to St. Paul the Apostle Church for an event to be held on September 28, 2019 at 6401 Gages Lake Road. Item number 3, approval of payroll for period ending August 16, 2019 in the amount of $911,600.28. Item number 4, approval of payroll for period ending August 30th, 2019 in the amount of $875,659.93. Item number 5, approval of bills for period ending September 9th, 2019 in the amount of $1,535,215.96.
Thank you, Patrick. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as read into the record? Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
6 aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to petitions and communications. The first is a proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month. Hispanic Heritage Month in Gurnee is celebrated from September 15th through October 15th, 2019. And during Hispanic Heritage Month, the Village of Gurnee recognizes the many contributions the Hispanic American community has made to our country and celebrates the rich history and colorful and distinct cultural traditions of our nation's Hispanic American people. And September 15th was chosen as the starting point for the celebration because it is the anniversary of independence of 5 Latin American countries, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their Independence Days on September 16th and September 18th, respectively. Close to 59 million people in the United States are of Hispanic origin, which include people with roots in Central and South America, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Spain. The Village of Gurnee joins other communities across our nation in celebrating and recognizing the many contributions and legacies that are attributed to these Americans. Now, therefore, I, Christina Kavarik, Mayor of the Village of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2019 as Hispanic Heritage Month in the Village of Gurnee, and urge our citizens to honor and celebrate the achievements of a people that have contributed so much to our American culture. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by trustee O'Brien, second by trustee Thorstensen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to reports. The first is a presentation by our Finance Director, Brian Gosnell, on our first quarter under this fiscal year, 2019-2020 fiscal year. So, Brian, it's all yours. PowerPoint ready?
All right, thank you very much. At the end of July, the report goes through the end of July, first quarter here, total cash and investments, just over $34 million, 71% of that in the general fund, 14% in the water and sewer fund. 21% of that was in checking and money market accounts, primarily at First Midwest. 31% in our short-term fixed income. This is our investment advisor account. And then 48% in money markets, primarily at Illinois funds. Versus the benchmark of a 91-day T-bill, the village's portfolio is earning 2.216% versus 2.08%. So we beat the benchmark this quarter. We were trailing, so. Looking at major revenues, in total finished ahead of the seasonally adjusted budget and ahead of last year. Sales tax had a strong quarter, finishing almost 3% ahead of last year. We do see that soften a little bit in the first 2 months of the second quarter, however. So we'll see what happens at the end of the second quarter here. Local use tax increasing remains strong here. This is with the internet legislation that was passed last year. Starting to see major increases in that. A couple timing differences. First one in amusement tax. Last year we had a one-time payment of about $500,000 that throws that one off a little bit. If you take that out of the equation here, it's about flat from last year. And then on hotel tax, the first quarter of last year did not include Great Wolf, so we're comparing non-Great Wolf versus Great Wolf, so it makes it look a little skewed there. Telecom tax, we had a large positive variance here. The state had a settlement with the telecom company, so everybody got a small windfall from that. And then large positive in income tax. This is also a timing issue. If you remember with the last state budget, they accelerated 2 payments, so we're not month-to-month comparisons here. But that will catch up as we go, obviously, through the year. But overall, a good quarter for major revenues in total. Looking just at the general fund revenues, in total here, 26.41% of budget, so they beat the budget. Taxes finished ahead of budget, largely due to road and bridge taxes. Those come in twice a year, and one's the first quarter and then third quarter. Licenses and permits under budget here. This is just timing of business and liquor licenses. We'll see that in the third and fourth quarters. In the intergovernmental category, revenues finished under budget. That's timing of the SAFER grant receipts. You remember that's the firefighter grant that the village was awarded last year. Charges for service finished ahead due to contract billing and ambulance billing. Fines and forfeitures finished ahead of budget. That's the timing of the iDrop program. That's the program where the village collections from state income tax returns. So that's obviously once a year. We get a large spike once a year, I should say. Also, we see positive variances in income tax and then other sources, but that's due to a large property damage claim. So I don't know if we want to highlight that. General fund expenditures finished the quarter at 24.39, so under budget here. Negative variances due to timing. A lot of the first quarter stuff is due to timing. A lot of the variances here, negative variance salary and wages are due to the timing of payrolls. There was 3 payrolls in May. The other timing issues here and in the water and sewer fund we see because of insurance premiums with property liability, work comp. We pay those all at the beginning of the year. Water and sewer fund, revenues finished the quarter here under budget, 22.38. Some of this is seasonality, but through the first quarter we do see water usage down 2.1%. Looking at the expenditure side, a lot of the timing things here will be the same as they were in the general fund. Negative variances due to the timing of insurance premiums and employee benefits and other contractual services. Everything else was under budget here. Looking at the pensions, police pension had an average portfolio balance just over $54 million. Through the first quarter, gains in income of $352,000 gives us an annualized return of 2.59. And then the 12-month rolling is 6.65 and 9.27. Just a reminder, we compare these to the 7% actuarial assumption. So that's the kind of the benchmark we want to follow here. On the fire side, just under $40 million, had gains in income of $693,000, gives them 6.94. Annualized return through the first quarter, 5.38 on a 12-month rolling, and then 7.6 on a 36-month rolling. So you can see longer term, they're both exceeding the benchmark of 7% still. Any questions on the numbers? I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of current economic conditions, but if there's any questions on the numbers, we can get those out of the way here quick.
Okay.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So there's been a lot of talk about recession coming up in the news lately. So I just wanted to go over a couple things on that. Part of why we hear the talk is we are in the longest expansion on record. So from a business cycle standpoint, this is the longest expansion that we've ever seen. So just by virtue of being the longest, you expect it to at some point turn down. So I looked up a couple statistics and some things they had out there in the September Beige Book and then at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And what you find is almost two separate economies. It seems like the economy is expanding for the most part. Consumer spending remains strong, a lot of it driven by credit. And then employment and wages are strong, but you see on the manufacturing, construction, ag side, it's not doing so well. So it's almost like two different economies. Part of what we started to see was this inverted yield curve. I won't go into it a whole lot, but suffice it to say that this is when people get pessimistic about the short-term economics. So they don't feel like the economy is going to do well in the short term, causes this to invert. It's also one of the, I should say, most correlated leading indicators of a recession. I found this online. This is something that Credit Suisse put out. It's called the Recession Dashboard. And if you look at the bottom there, the same thing that I was talking about in the Beige Book as well. The yield curve is inverted, so that is a recessionary. And then manufacturing and the housing market are neutral. Everything else is still expansionary. So you almost see two different sides here. Again, consumer strong, earnings strong, job creation strong, manufacturing, ag, housing market not doing as well. So, of course, there could be any number of things that could change all this. Obviously, trade negotiations are going on, domestic politics, election cycle coming up. Anything that would happen from a fiscal policy or a monetary policy standpoint. I know there was talk about another tax cut, so that could obviously change things. I know the market's pretty much built in another Fed rate reduction, so that's probably going to happen, most likely going to happen at the end of this month, probably 25 basis points again. So regardless, the village is in a good spot. One of the things we do annually is prepare a multi-year forecast where we model different scenarios, being in a recession coming up, kind of long-term averages, and then in an expansion environment from the business models, from the business cycle models. So we do it every year. That helps us tell what the scope of a recession could be. And then we take that information, and with the fiscal contingency plan that we put in place a few years ago, we can say, here's what we need. Department heads every year go out and make a list of things that they could come up with, whether it be expenditure cuts or revenue enhancements, and we have those at the ready. So we're ready to respond at any time. Also, we obviously have fund balances in the general fund way above our policy, which we can use as well. And then next month, we'll be considering paying off our last outstanding general obligation bond. And then we have the Park District debt also expiring this year, so that leaves us quite a bit of leverage going into the next budget cycle. So we definitely have things and levers we can pull if something recession happens. So we're sitting in a good spot. And that was it. That
From
piece.
your lips to God's ears.
I'll take any questions.
All right, questions from the trustees? It's only one quarter. Trustee Thorstensen?
I guess it's more of a comment. We've talked about it periodically, but just not in this context. So I wouldn't want to leave everything hanging like we're going to be getting an influx of cash with the two bonds expiring, because we know we have the third fire station.
Correct. Yeah, we still have quite a conversation about the third fire station and how to pay for that coming up here in another month or two.
And we have the bond for the water tower
Right.
that goes on the books, so.
Right.
Yeah, we still have the Knowles Tower debt. Mhm.
Point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, good job.
Yep.
All right, next, we have a report from our assistant to the finance director, Erica Wells, on some changes to our village banking services.
So, as you know, finance has been going through the process of a banking services request for proposal. Erica's really done point work on it, so she's going to walk us through the presentation, and then we'll probably work on questions as we go here. But I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you. I'm going to go over the current banking setup. Currently, the Village banking setup consists of a few different banking relationships. First Midwest Bank with primary bank for day-to-day services, a relationship that we've had for over 20 years. Gurnee Community Bank, which is a Wintrust, $3.7 million approximately in high-interest money market account. Huntington Bank, which we use for electronic AR box payments, which is any online payments that residents will use their bill pay system for, as well as a $20,000 deposit relationship to offset those fees. We also have an Illinois fund with about $10 million in a high-interest money market account, and our investment account with Schwab. On May 20th, Village Board approved a banking services RFP, and staff mailed about 10 RFPs to local banks in the community. We received a low response rate, so we did reach out to those banks directly, and it turned out that the banking officers actually did not receive the information, so we did adjust our dates to July 31st, and then we received 7 competitive RFP responses. The evaluation criteria that was used to determine a recommendation for the village banking services was a combination of responsiveness to the RFP, references, ability to perform the services, and then a combination of fees, which includes the earnings credit rate, monthly bank fees, the minimum balances required in those accounts to offset the fees, as well as interest rates. Staff had 3 in-person interviews. We basically narrowed it down to 3 banks, which is First Midwest Bank, Gurnee Community Bank, and Huntington Bank. Currently, the village keeps approximately $8 million in a combination of checking and money market accounts to cover day-to-day operations as well as fluctuations in fund balances. And as shown on the chart is a breakdown of $8 million, which is comparable to our current day-to-day bank balances, with, as you can see, with the competitive ECR rate at Gurnee Bank of 2.40, which is actually tied to the Illinois funds rate. Average monthly fees at about $1,900, and balances at only $1 million, a little under $1 million to offset those fees. The village basically has the opportunity to start making money on the interest that would be, on the funds that would be sitting idle much sooner. So we would have the opportunity to make about $14,000, net about $14,000 in interest earnings each month. Another thing I want to note is, as mentioned in the memo that you received, with First Midwest Bank, which is our current bank, the ECR is determined by the bank, whereas with Gurnee Community Bank, the ECR is tied to the Illinois funds rate, so that always ensures a competitive rate for the village. Based on the review process and the information covered, staff would like to make a recommendation of the following setup. Really looking at Gurnee Community Bank as a primary day-to-day services account, as well as a high-interest savings or money market account. First Midwest Bank, we would like to maintain a relationship there with a high-interest savings or money market account. And Huntington Bank, continue the relationship with the AR box that we currently have, because that is working out really well for our residents. Add a high-interest money market or investment account, and then maybe potentially down the road look at adding their purchasing cards or AP cards, which would be a separate item, but those cards are very competitive, and they would allow for the village to get a high interest rate on cash back. Some of the benefits to a multi-bank relationship include having that built-in comparison and that competition, the ability to review technology, changes from multiple banks at any given time, have updates to identity theft and security techniques, as well as basically be able to see those industry trends and track and confirm those rates across the board, because we would have those relationships. As well as, in the future, potential capital leases or any other funding that may be needed, we would have a relationship with multiple banks to be able to look at that. The following chart shows a breakdown of the balances to really achieve staff's proposed account structure. Basically, what we'd be looking to do is reduce the First Midwest balance by about $5.3 million, increase the Gurnee Bank balance by about $4 million, increase the Huntington Bank account by about $5 million, and then reduce our position with Illinois funds by about $3.6 million, while leaving the Schwab investments as is. Based on the information presented and the information in your packet, Brian and I are really looking for board consensus to move forward with the proposed banking relationship.
Very good, Erica. Questions from the trustees? Trustee O'Brien?
Question and comment. The question for the ECR rate coming from Gurnee Bank, it's a floating rate. Is that a potential for, if we have a looming recession, could we go negative of the other ones potentially?
I've never seen the Illinois funds rate go negative, but it was around 25 basis points at one point. But historically, it's much above what the other ones were.
Cool. Then my comment then is, switching over to Gurnee Bank, great work, by the way, because that's an extra $60,000 in revenue, it looks like.
Sure. Thank you.
Other questions? Trustee Hood?
I should like to trust their investigation and to insert myself and think I could do a better job. Doesn't seem like a good idea. So I think just it'd be wise to trust what they've done and appreciate the work you put into it.
Trustee Thorstensen?
I guess I'm projecting forward to where we're going to be doing bonds, as we just discussed. Will the balances, do we have our fund balances in these banks irrespective of the bond, or the bank that we choose to bond with, would we also need to put some of our assets there with them as well?
Yes, and I believe we can do that with any three of the ones that are there.
Okay.
So.
Thanks. Great work.
All right, when consensus, is that a motion or is that just?
Just consensus of the board. Brian will need to go back and work out the agreements with the banks that will come back in the future for your formal consideration. So they just wanted to make sure that their approach was agreeable to the village board, and if so, they'll go back and get everything finalized.
And then I'll come back for a vote. Okay, consensus?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Any other reports?
Not tonight,
No old business?
correct?
All right, move on to new business. First item is approval of ordinance 2019-56,
56?
granting a special use permit pursuant to the Gurnee zoning ordinance for 1495 Cemetery Road, commonly known as Warren Cemetery and Funeral Home. And the petitioners are here.
So you had a memo from our associate planner, Clara Gable, on this. The item was before the Planning and Zoning Board last month. The funeral home is looking for a new sign along Grand Avenue, their frontage there, to replace the existing ground sign, which will be removed. A little complicated because when the cemetery was established years ago as a permitted use, when we adopted the new zoning ordinance, it was classified as a special use. The new zoning ordinance also required that sign standards for the use be established during a special use permit hearing process. Since it was a permitted use when it was established, that process never took place, so there are no established sign standards. So fast forward to today, what they're requesting is a proposed sign, 96 square feet, double-faced, a little over 12-foot tall box sign to replace their existing sign, which is about 22 square feet, 12-foot tall. Same general location as the existing side. If you compare what's allowed for the residential zoning district, you're looking at 8 feet and 40 square feet, but obviously This is a unique circumstance due to some of its characteristics, location, the number of lanes on Grand Avenue, speed of the traffic going by, and the proximity to the entrance ramp on the tollway. So the Planning and Zoning Board took all these into consideration when the size of the sign was requested. There was some discussion amongst the PZB going back and forth. They asked some questions as far as how it's comparable to some other signs up and down Grand Avenue. It was cited in the minutes that it is comparable, say, to the Portillo sign that was installed along Grand Avenue, to give you some comparison. Also, there was some discussion about the box sign itself. Based on the size, the way our sign code works is the more high quality the sign is, the larger you can go. A couple of the members of the PZB wanted to see a more high quality sign, but when the discussion concluded, they voted. It was a 4-2 favorable recommendation on the sign as proposed, and it is before you tonight for consideration.
Questions from the trustees for staff or the petitioner? Trustee Thorstensen?
I just want to confirm this is the current rendering that's in the package?
Yes.
Okay. That was nice. I'm glad they included it. And it said it was going to have the date and the temperature? Did I-
Time, it says
Oh,
time and
Time
temperature.
and temperature. So is the time?
I guess
it's-
one or
it's
the other,
flipping
it'll
within
flip.
the dial?
yeah.
Okay. No questions. Thank you.
That ought to encourage the people merging onto the tri-state when they see the time. Trustee Balmas?
This is going along Grand Avenue, and just personally, I don't care for it much, but, I mean, the sign itself, I mean, the box part doesn't bother me as much as the sign does, but I'll go along with it. So what happens, though, on the other side, the main entrance? What's going on with that blue and yellow plywood thing you got out there?
We're in the process of just getting rid of that ugly thing
Well, thank you for using the words I wanted to use, but refrain.
and renovating that one. It would stay there and we would just renovate it. Upgrade it, make it look nicer within confines of what I wanted to do.
And that is still on the village property?
Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
just a second. I need you to go to the microphone and identify yourself for the public record. Then you can answer her question.
We would upgrade it, or not upgrade it, but redo it basically to make it look more presentable within the confines of zoning regulations.
And your name, sir? And
Wayne Allison, I'm the regional supervisor for the cemetery.
thank you.
And-
David, do you want to add something?
Yes, yes, the existing sign on the south end is in the village's right-of-way. It dates back to the beginning of our records, so we've not been able to find when or how it was allowed there. It'd be considered existing non-conforming, so we would allow them to maintain it, refresh it without any structural changes.
I think, and I'm familiar with the cemetery, so I just think it's difficult for people, I mean, it's nice to have that sign so they know that's the cemetery there, but it doesn't help for street location, because you don't have an entrance off of Grand Avenue. They have to, like, they're coming east on Grand Avenue, they see the sign, but they got to go all the way up to Dilly's then and like do a U-turn, but, you know, to figure out where the cemetery road entrance is. So you have a difficult situation there. And I also know people don't know that the funeral home is within the cemetery. So I get that part too. And I assume that's why you want this picture of the funeral home on your sign, which I don't
Correct.
like, but I get it. So I don't know how you could do that directional thing for it there. It's difficult.
There was actually quite a bit of discussion at the Planning and Zoning Board about having the address number on it or not. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board that they not include the 1475 address number, as it's not in sequence with the Grand Avenue numbering system and may add confusion. We later found out that it actually wasn't required, as it is on most of our commercial signs for the residential district. So it wasn't part of the official recommendation that came to you because it wasn't required. But the Planning and Zoning Board felt that that added confusion to the fact.
And I can see that.
Mayor.
Trustee Ross?
I also don't like the sign. And I noticed in the notes that it said that it was historical, that you were trying to maintain. But my dad's mother was the first cemetery society there. And I don't think she would approve of the digital. That is not historical to put in time and temperature. And I don't know what that has to do really with the cemetery society. And I too would like to see the cemetery road or the number gone because I don't think it helps on Grand Avenue.
So David, what is the current status on the address number?
The current status is the number is not required per the base code, was not part of the recommendation, and would not be included as part of the sign.
Yeah. So they're not going to put, it's my understanding that they're not going to put the number on.
That is correct.
No, we're not.
The number's not going to be on.
Okay, because ours still has it on.
Mhm.
How about getting rid of the time and temperature? Is that
Or,
possible?
yeah, that is a plan to do that, yes, so that we could basically get people to see the sign itself.
Can you repeat that into the microphone?
We are going to do that so that the temperature would would attract people to see the sign itself, be in its location.
So
Time
you're-
and temp.
You're not going to put the time and temp in the bricks?
Yes, we are putting it in
Oh,
the
you
brick.
are? Okay, and what Trustee Ross asked is, would you consider removing that?
That would be more his,
Um,
we could,
Okay.
yes.
We record the minutes, so I need you at the microphone and introduce yourself, please.
Bill Yaney, Funeral Home Manager of Warren. Yeah, we would consider not putting in the time and temp. As a matter of fact, right now, we're not even putting it in, we just requested it. We had no plan to actually do it this year, but put it in the plan in case for future.
I would be more inclined to approve it if you take it out, because I don't think it's appropriate.
Okay, and then David, I would ask you, is it in the ordinance? Or does it need to be in the ordinance?
It did not need to be in the ordinance as part of the special use permit. It was small enough it didn't qualify as a changeable message sign, or it did not purvey a commercial message, so it was not included in the signage area. We can make it happen however you wish, though.
All right, we'll
As
come
a
back to
condition of the
that.
permit or something along those lines.
Okay, Trustee Garner?
My concern is the size of the sign and actually the materials in which it's constructed. David, do you know if if you compare the sign to the very large Menard sign, how does this sign compare in size?
Substantially smaller.
This sign is smaller than the
Smaller,
Menard sign?
yes. So this is 12 feet in height. I believe the Menard sign is between 18 and 20. This one is, I forget what the length was, 16 feet in length. I think the Menards one is closer to 30. So it's roughly half the length and 2/3 the height. And then the sign panel is substantially smaller than the Menards sign as well. No, if this were a commercial site rather than a residential zoned site, this would be just about a permitted by right sign.
Is there anything can be done about the square footage of brick. It's just not very attractive to me.
To withstand the winds and stuff for the, up here, that we decided that they would be 2-foot by 2-foot columns to stability of the sign.
Yeah, I just think you could have made a more creative sign. I mean, when we put these signs, when we approve these signs, they last a very long time. And, you know, I think you could have been more creative with the design of the sign. Are you open to doing anything about that?
We kind of just modeled it off of the Menard sign pretty much.
Yeah, and that's an eyesore. You know, I'm sorry, but I just think, you know, when we put something up in our community, it should look nice. And I think, I mean, it's not too difficult to have somebody create a nice-looking sign.
I believe when it goes up, it'll be nice looking with the landscaping and stuff.
And in looking at the drawing that's provided, the scale of the pillars on the side don't appear to be in scale with the size of the sign. So if you look at the size of the sign, it's 12 feet in width, and the pillars are only 2 feet. So if you look at the relative size of those, I would guess that it's more of a 12 to 3 versus a 12 to 2. You know, just counting the little bricks across there, it doesn't appear to be quite in scale with the drawing. So it may not be as brick heavy as what appears in the drawing.
So like you can almost cut those in half, you mean almost?
2/3, I would say, half to 2/3, to get a true sense of scale of the pillars on the ends.
Yeah. That would make it
Okay, based on the discussion, I think the only change is not to allow a time and temp would be the only thing with the permitting. Trustee Thorstensen?
Do we have some examples that we could look at? I'm not at all offended by the time and temp, and I know that I understand your basis there, but I also like that it's all brick. I think that makes it, you know, very upscale, so I think that gives it, you know, what we would like. I think the time temp box in proportion is smaller, so that's good. It just, I think it gives us, I was thinking, do we have any time or temp on the west side of town in that area?
No.
Doesn't that actually give us, as a community, something that we'd like to see over there, which might be the time and temp?
They tend to be a distraction in driving, and that's a really bad intersection already.
Dangerous.
So people watch that instead of the people slamming on their brakes in front of them, getting on the interstate. I mean, we don't have any over there. The church on Hunt Club has something, but none of the banks or anything. Grain mills, we've not allowed any reader boards so far. So I'm all right with that. All right, so after some discussion, should I call for a motion? Without the time and temp, the change. So do I have a motion to approve the sign for Warren Cemetery without the time and temperature on the brick? Do I have a motion to approve?
So
Motion.
Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee Hood.
without the.
Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Nay.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
That's 5-1.
All right, so the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item number 2 is approval of ordinance 2019-57, adding one Class 4 liquor license by amending Section 6-56 of Article 2 of Chapter 6 of the Gurnee Municipal Code entitled Alcoholic Beverages. This license will be for Aldi at 7520 Grand Avenue.
Sure. So as the construction on Aldi's continues to progress, they're working on getting things in order. So they're ready to go when they open. They've requested a Class 4 liquor license, which allows the sale of alcoholic liquor only for consumption off the premises where sold, similar to what Sam's, Walmart, Mariano's, and Jewel has. Police Department ran through the application. Everything came back clean. So there is nothing to preclude issuance of the license from staff's perspective.
And Aldi's will be informed about our procedures with checkout, alcohol sales at checkout, and display and all that.
It will conform to all the requirements in the municipal code.
All right. Questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas by like a nanosecond, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
6 aye.
Motion carries. Item number 3, approval of ordinance 2019-58, authorizing execution of a professional services agreement with Concentric Integration for the Knowles Road Water Tower SCADA integration. Pat?
Sure. So another project that continues to move forward is the Knowles Road Water Tower SCADA, which is our supervisory control and data acquisition system, is what basically runs our water system and sewer system. So it's controllers, sensors, alarms, radio equipment, et cetera, that helps control levels, pressures, to make sure the water stays flowing and the system performs as expected. So Concentric, which is a subsidy of Baxter and Woodman, we've worked with them for many years, dating back to the original implementation of the SCADA system. We knew, bringing the tower online, that this equipment would be required. We left it out of the water tower contract because staff's preference was to work with a contractor that we were familiar with, that knows our system, that knows how we operate our system, and that is Concentric. So we reached out to them as far as the work that needs to be done. They came back with a not to exceed of $34,790, obviously reviewed by Public Works, Engineering, et cetera, to make sure it meets our needs. It does, so they would like to move forward with getting this contract in place so equipment can start to be ordered and that process continue to move forward.
All right, very necessary to protect the quality of our water. Questions from the trustees?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from trustee Balmas, second from trustee Ross. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
6 aye.
All right, motion carries. Item number 4 is approval of ordinance 2019-59, accepting a plat of dedication for public roadway use, Garnet Court.
Sure. I had a memo from our Community Development Director, Dave Ziegler, on this. So Garnet Court is up in Victorian Village, which is on the east side of Route 21, north of Grand Avenue. Over the years, we've accepted the roadways in that subdivision and have been maintaining them, except for Garnet Court, which is a small cul-de-sac in the middle. Had a request from the neighborhood to take this over. Staff's been looking at it probably for the last 6 to 8 months. We do already plow this section of roadway, so taking that over and having all those roads within that subdivision public will not be a huge strain on village resources. Prepared the appropriate ordinance to accept that roadway, make it public, and then we would maintain it going forward.
This is an odd one. It was brought to my attention, and I don't understand that we'd take the whole subdivision and leave out one little court, and there may have been good reason, but it just makes more sense, even though we understand the condition of the roadbed. You know, we're inheriting a road that's fairly old and not in good shape, but it still makes more sense for it to be under village control.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
6 aye.
I just wanted
All
to
right,
charge you.
motion carries. Welcome to the village of Gurnee. We're glad to have you.
That's right.
All
As
right.
long as they know that that's going to be one of the last streets plowed,
Because it's a cul-de-sac.
because it's a cul-de-sac, yes.
All right. Item number 5, approval of Information System Division and Police Department recommendation to award the 2019 Police Mobile Data Computer Replacement Project to the low bidder CDWG at a cost of $131,209.15.
229.15, yep.
Oh, did I, $131, $229. My sinus
$131,229.15.
medicine is making me
So
fuzzy.
we've talked about this a couple times. The police department, as you know, is moving away from the COBAN combined computer and video units for a number of reasons, including that they're on Microsoft 7 operating system, and then that'll no longer be supported come January 2020. You'll remember we approved moving to the Axon cameras a couple meetings ago. This is kind of the second half of that. We knew this was coming. Chris worked with the police department to put together an RFP for the police department mobile data computers, so for 26 units. He specified in there specific manufacturers and model numbers based on market research, customer references, support programs, product demonstrations, and then field testing criteria. By the RFP deadline, we received 5 responses, one of which did not meet all the requirements or provide all the information we asked for, so we're considering that non-responsive. Of the 4 remaining, CDWG was a low bidder at $131,229.15. Staff estimated this to be between $145,000 and $165,000, so it came in a little under what we estimated it at. This expense is budgeted in the JETSB budget, so we'll be reimbursed by the JETSB. So it'll be purchased out of there. Again, knew this was coming, budgeted for it. Next item is also related. This is the computers. The next one is the actual mounts for the computers in the cars, which we'll get to, but this will wrap up the majority of that project as far as the in-car video and the computers and mounts. And obviously, Chris is here from the IS perspective, or Chief Smith from the police department if there's questions.
Questions from the trustees?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
6 aye.
Motion carries. Item number 6, approval of the police department recommendation to waive the formal bidding process and contract with Ultra Strobe Communications for outfitting police squads with new computer mounts and associated hardware at a total cost of $33,057.20.
So we had a memo from our police chief, Brian Smith, on this. As relates to the new computers, new mounts are needed. We did look at trying to modify what we currently have in the cars to make it work, and that involves cutting into dashes, moving stuff around, really not doing it the correct way. We also currently have in the fleet 2 different types of computer mounts, so by replacing everything, we'll be standardized as far as the mounts, which will help when Chris and his team are actually working on the computers. There's really 2 companies in the area that provide this service. One we had previously worked with for a decent amount of time. Police department went out to see who else was out there. UltraStrobe is another big player in the market. Met with UltraStrobe, toured the facility, talked about what we wanted to do. Have actually sent a couple detective vehicles out there for outfitting. Have been very pleased with the work to date. Similar to the computers, spec down exactly what we want, make and model number. Requested a price from them. That's the $33,057.20. That will outfit our 21 squads with the new center consoles, mounts, et cetera, to support the new data computers. So the police department is making that request.
Questions? Trustee Thorstensen?
Oh, I was going to say motion to approve.
I have a motion from trustee Thorstensen, second from trustee Ross. Discussion? All right, roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Bombas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
6 aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, final item, new business, item number 7, approval of fire department recommendation to contract with CrewSense LLC at an annual cost of $5,073 for custom payroll software. Patrick?
So the fire department probably has the most complex payroll process of all our departments, and they've been using our email calendar system to schedule that and manage time off, et cetera. So probably the most, like I said, complex process, and has been using the most non-technical system from a software standpoint to get the job done. But it's worked over the years, but it's labor intensive for the fire department, and with our new financial software, obviously does not flow right into that. So they had been researching different payroll software. The financial system upgrade took center stage of that, so that was put on the back burner until Munis was complete. Munis was completed, so they went back out. They've been working they received a proposal and looked at a couple different demonstrations. CrewSense is a company that we currently use for some training software, so we're familiar with them. Brought them in, had a team up from the fire department, HR, finance, and information systems, take a look at what they offer, as well as what some other vendors offer. At the end of the day, CrewSense meets the department's needs the most. Cloud-based, full remote access applications, so the members can go in there and make and accept trades on their own, place time off requests on their own, take a look at availability of overtime, et cetera. Lets the command staff get in there, see what's going on, and then at the end, we'll generate a CSV file that'll flow into our Munis software. So they worked with CrewSense to receive a price. It's on a per user basis, so we've got 57 shift employees in the fire department that would be using it. It's $89 per person, so that comes to the $5,073 annually. That'd be year one and going forward from that point forward. So looking at the time it'll save and cut down on human error, and just the usability compared to what they're using now is leaps and bounds.
I was going to say, this has got to be the last remnant of the 19th century floating around the village. Questions? Trustee Thorstensen?
So there's no upfront cost for the build or customization?
Hi, Jody Luca, the management analyst with the fire department. No, there are no upfront costs for customization. We'll pretty much be given the software, and then I'll build it out, dependent upon our union requirements and whatnot. So I will work with CrewSense, and we'll be able to make it happen. But the build out mostly happens on our end, so there's no upfront fees on their side. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
Probably no one's going to be happier than you.
Correct.
Jody and Erica.
Jody and Erica, I know. Other questions? Trustee Balmas?
Will this fluctuate a little bit based on our staffing?
If we add new employees, we'll bump it up by the $89 per user. So,
Okay.
I mean, we're not expecting huge onslaughts of firefighters, so a couple $100.
Okay. Thank you. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I heard trustee Balmas for the motion, trustee Garner for the second. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Bombas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
6 aye.
All right, motion carries. Open the floor to public comment. Please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Sarah Crawford, and I'm here again today to request your involvement and support with Stop ETO and the community to solve this health crisis. I personally invited every single one of you to the Stop ETO meeting on Saturday, August 31st. It was incredibly disappointing to see that not a single one of you chose to attend. This apathy clearly indicates that you don't see this health crisis as an important issue for your residents. Conversely, we did have a room of over 80 people and 14 local leaders and representatives that did decide to join us. I recently attended the Green Oaks board meeting to speak with them about the final air testing results and about what we can do to protect the residents who are only 1 mile away from Medline. It was very interactive, and they asked many questions. In the end, one of the trustees asked us for more information about setting up their own canisters to test the air. It was remarkable and quite the opposite of your lack of concern. At the last Gurnee board meeting, I saw Mayor Kavorik speak to 2 different residents one about a small pond in their neighborhood near Bittersweet, and the other about a stop sign. You genuinely cared about their problems. And yet, when the rest of us got up to speak about ETO, you didn't respond. Why? You will talk to 2 residents about their problems, but not the rest of your residents here about the ETO problem? That's just not fair, Mayor. I'm sure you are well aware that the Waukegan aldermen unanimously voted to reject the stack height permit for Medline. The Waukegan aldermen and the mayor have been the leaders we need in this health crisis by first recommending to conduct air testing and second to reject this stack. I'm disappointed that I can't say the same for my hometown of Gurnee. After the final air testing results were released, the mayor was quoted as saying, "I'm very pragmatic. I want to make sure I have all the information and conclusions before going forward on making good decisions." The definition of pragmatic is dealing with these things sensibly and realistically that is based on practical rather than theoretical considerations. So then I think, well, surely the mayor and the trustees have saw these very high readings at Medline and Vantage. This is practical data, not theoretical. We just didn't have one high reading that should write this off as a fluke. I ask, what would the most pragmatic way to deal with such high readings that is potentially giving cancer to the residents in this community? It would be to work with us to protect your residents. Alderman Mozio was quoted in the Chicago Tribune on Wednesday, September 4th, after the stack height increase for Medline was denied. He said, "You don't want to be Flint, Michigan. You don't want to do nothing." To me, it came down to I'm going to err on the side of the community. Months ago, Mayor, you said, trust us. We have had meetings with the Illinois EPA and the EPA, and we are doing all that we can. I know that you have said that you want to wait to find out the results from the ASTSDAR and the US EPA. But these results will take months, and meanwhile, we continue to breathe toxic air, waiting, only to prove what we already know, that Lake County residents are being poisoned by ethylene oxide. Do not use this as your excuse to not protect us. We need you to stand with us to protect the community and its children. We need you to stand on the right side of history, not on the wrong side of history. Please, Mayor, work with the Stop ETO group. We are continuing to grow, and clearly, we are not going away. The mayors of Willowbrook, Darien, Hinsdale, Burr Ridge, they all work with Stop Sterigenics to protect the community. I simply cannot understand why you choose to not work with us to protect your own community. I know that when we get up here to speak at these board meetings, it can come across as harsh and critical of all of you sitting up there. But I just want you to know that the only reason I'm up here is because I'm so incredibly passionate about protecting my two beautiful daughters. I hope that you can recognize my passion and understand that right now, I would rather be at home putting my two girls to bed. But instead, I feel like I have to be here, voicing my concerns and asking, begging, pleading all of you to work with us. The day that each one of my girls were born, I swore that I would protect them to the best of my ability, and that is the only reason I am a member of Stop ETO. Please, I beg of you, please work with us. We want the same things as you. Please work with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy, for the record, I did not receive a personal invitation. I don't think any of the, no, you had the floor. I don't think any of the other trustees did. And if I don't read my email or see it, it does go to other people in the village.
We have proof of
I did not
emails.
receive it.
We have proof of emails, and here is another invite right here, right now. On October 5th, we're doing another town hall. Every single one of you is invited, just like every single one of our elected officials was invited to the other town hall that we just did. We had senators, we had state representatives, we had Lake County board members attend. We had the entire platform that was covered by elected officials who came, spoke of the concerns of ethylene oxide in our air, and none of you came. All of you knew about it. Karen Thornton, I may mispronounce your name, not only did you know about it, you said, I hope that these people can stop calling it a town hall because it's not a town hall. Well, it is, because the entire town was invited. So that's backup for what you just lied about for Sarah's. You did receive an email. I will put it on Facebook. When we sent it, you can see it on Facebook, so everyone else can see it on Facebook. We're not lying.
My
You are.
emails come in more than I just get them, and then nobody else
Do
saw
not
it either.
lie again and again and again. Thank you.
I was called the day before by the representatives, made aware of it, and then I talked to them afterwards. I did not get an email.
That's not true. You will see the proof of that on Facebook for
because
everyone else to
you
see it.
continue to do this, to discredit us, call us liars. say
No,
we
you
take
are
bribes,
discrediting us.
conspiracy,
You've been
and
discrediting
none of
us
us got an email.
since November
None of us got an
2nd.
email.
And you know what? Today, actually, I wasn't supposed to talk about this right now, but I'm getting very upset about this. I got a text message today from a mother of a 3-year-old who has a son with leukemia. She lives in between Vantage and Medline. Her son, her 3-year-old baby, has leukemia and is going through spinal transfusions. He shouldn't have to. She just found out about his disease a month ago. And you know what? I thought, could we have done something to prevent it? You found out on August 22nd, 2018, that Gurnee had an ethylene oxide issue, and you told that to no one. And you were upset with Michael Hawthorne of the Chicago Tribune when he published his article on November 2nd. You didn't want that article to come out.
That's not true.
That's
You
true.
have
You
for
told
9
me to
months-
my face.
For 9 months,
You told me to my face. You
misquoted
tried
him.
to stop his
No,
article
I
from being
asked him-
published. And then
No, that
after
is
that,
not
you
what I
tried to
said.
squash our movement.
And you wonder
so
why
that,
we won't meet
hey,
with you.
Is it
Because
my
you don't
time to
repeat
talk?
anything
Thank
correctly.
you. Is it my time to talk? Thank you. You told me you thought he was irresponsible for putting that article out because you didn't want people to
That is
know
not
when
correct.
the EPA didn't have a
That is not
response for
correct.
us yet. Yes, that is correct.
Go ahead
You
and
told
finish, and
me,
Andy will
unless
put
you
on the
were
record
lying
what
to
I
me
said.
then. Either you were lying to me then or you're lying to me now. Which one is it? It can't be both ways.
That's not
you
what
can't,
I said.
You can't have both
You
ways.
cherry-picked what I said.
I'm not cherry picking. I am not cherry picking. You've had a year, a full year, to deal with this crisis, and you've done nothing. Everything that you have done is to tell us that we're alarmists. Well, we're not. Ethylene oxide is a class 1 carcinogen. It's just as bad as asbestos. And you know what? When we're done with this, everyone is going to know about ethylene oxide, and everyone will know that you have done nothing for a year. This kid doesn't have to have leukemia. Had we done something a year ago, had you done something a year ago, maybe this kid wouldn't be sick right now. He was just diagnosed a month ago. I hope that you go home tonight, not thinking about how much you hate us for making your job difficult, but thinking, what could I have done a year ago to have made this problem not be here now? Think about all the mothers that have parents, all the parents that have kids with leukemia and lymphoma, who live near Vantage, who live near Medline, and have to breathe this air every day. They are being put at a risk, at the same amount of risk as if somebody is smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Well, you know what? The person who is smoking a pack of cigarettes has a choice. Our kids don't. And you have a choice. You have a choice to sit on your hands, or you have a choice to do something. And you have made your choice. So do not be upset when we call you out on it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Andy. I'll put my comments on the record, but Trustee Ross wants to say something.
I think that we all understand your passion, but for you to say that we haven't done anything is
You're wasting your breath, Cheryl.
Hard to understand, because you stood there and asked us to do...
You know what, Cheryl, no, because I'm not going to get in a debate, because all they will do is twist what we say. No, you had your opportunity.
Let her speak.
No, Cheryl, don't. It's wasted time. This is not what public comment is. It's not a discussion. State your name for the record if you have more to say.
Yes, my name is Teya Tanaka. I'm one of the members of Stop ETO. And I'm here to tell you that you have done nothing. All you did was pay a third of the cost for the testing, and you were not a willing participant to that testing. You were dragged to test. You didn't want to. You told me you didn't want to. You told me you knew those values were going to be high. You told me that in February. We met for your coffee with Mayor, and you told me to my face, when we test, those values are going to be high. You knew that. I made you repeat that twice because I couldn't believe my ears. When we were doubting whether we were breathing ethylene oxide, you told me we shouldn't be testing. I know those values are going to be high. Well, those values were high once the Lake County Health Department tested. What are you doing about it? The values around Vantage are up to 180 times above the EPA's actionable level. The actionable levels are at 0.02. Vantage, one of the values was as high as 3.6, and that's after Vantage installed their scrubbers and emission controls. How much poison were they putting in the air before? They did this after we started raising our voices and making noise. Had we not done this, they would have been releasing thousands of pounds every year unchecked. And you are maligning us? Shame on you. Shame on you. For all those parents who are dealing with sick kids right now, I wish that you could meet them. I wish that you could see them in person. I wish that you could see their suffering. These are real people. We're not just talking about numbers. We're talking about real lives. And you have the power to change it. And you are choosing to do nothing. And no, you have done nothing. That's correct. All you did was pay for a third of the testing. That's it. You were not willing participants in that testing. You didn't want to. Mark Pfister dragged you into that. Shame on you, again. And by the way, for all of you trustees, please, have some courage. Stand up to her. Read. Just read. Don't just take the information that Vantage is giving you and be like, oh, yeah, they're a good corporate citizen. Good corporate citizens do not poison their neighbors.
Andy, my whole statement to Michael Hawthorne on the phone was, use the actual numbers. It's irresponsible to use the estimates. The actual numbers were out. I objected to testing to TIA only because there was nothing at the time we could do with the results. Once there was something we could do with the results, we chose other options, and those were all board decisions. State your name.
Yep, Sarah Crawford. I'm just back here to check my sent items to make sure that I sent you this email. I sent it to Christina Kavorik, the village board at village.gurnee.il.us, which is the village board email address. I sent it to Pat, and I sent it to Jack Linhan. So I did send it. I sent it on August 26th, and I have it here in my sent items if you would like to see it.
All right, well, I
I
did
just
not
wanted to
get
get
it.
that on the record because you said that you did not personally receive the invite, and I wanted to let
All
you
right.
know that all of you
And
have.
Andy, we can sit here and go through my mayor email for the last month, and
That's
you will
fine,
be
but
able
also
to
Pat
see
received
that it
it.
is not in my
But
email,
also
mayor
Pat
email
received
box.
it, and all of you guys have a general email address, and I sent it to you, and I also sent it to Jack. So that's lots of people that I sent it to, and I didn't receive a single email back. To even say, I'm sorry, unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town, and we cannot make it, but thank you for
All
your
right,
invite.
well, I know I didn't get it, which is the accusation, and it is our prerogative
Okay, so
whether
should
we
I
attend or
resend you
not.
should I resend you my invitation
No.
just so that you can see it? Because
No,
it was
I can
from
go
August
through my
26th.
email right here and see I don't have it. We can go through the whole month.
Okay, well, then I also need Pat to check his email, and I need Jack to check his email, and I need all of you guys, whoever.
Jack is indicated, you
Oh.
got it, right?
Where is Jack?
All right.
Okay, well, I can show it to Jack, and I don't know who checks the general
Well, my
trustee
email
box.
gets distributed to multiple people, and none of them saw it. I don't know about the village boards. I
Okay,
can't speak
well,
for them.
I will check with Jack,
All right,
too.
so you
Thank
made
you.
your point, you sent some, I didn't get it, whether I got it or, even if I had got it, it would have been my prerogative whether I wanted to attend or not.
I agree.
All
October
right, it's
5th.
our prerogative whether we attend or not.
Good evening. My name's Diane Surufka. I've lived in Gurnee for 31 years. I am a member of Stop ETO, and I'm one of the original members with the other two ladies who have been up here before. Question, Mayor. We have an issue with mail. How would you like us to communicate with you?
This isn't a discussion.
If you're not getting the emails,
This
should I
is
deliver
not
it
a
here?
discussion. You can make a comment, I will thank you, and then you can get up again if you want.
You can check with staff, as to how to communicate with elected officials.
In
if
the-
there's any
okay.
question.
For the record, on the YouTube, for everybody here, I will personally deliver it to the front door over here. We will give you 10 copies to the board for the administrator at the Village of Gurnee to distribute according to protocol. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number two, we did invite you. If you didn't make it, that's okay. I would encourage you to take a look at the video. Take a look at the video that is not taped by us, from Waukegan, and see that mother and see her pain from Samuel in the hospital. It is very disturbing. And she had another test result this morning that is even worse. That little boy has been in the hospital for 5 weeks. She doesn't even know where she's going to bring him. Can she bring him home to her backyard in Gurnee? Nothing's changed. They can't go to her mother-in-law's house. He's 3 years old. Some of you on the board are grandparents. You admitted to this. We know it. Congratulations. This boy's grandparents don't know if he's going to make it to his next birthday. We will be having our anniversary for ETO the first week in November. Taya has said perhaps something could have been done for Samuel and other children in our community. I don't know, but it's been a year. I'm going to use an example that I said at Waukegan that maybe you will remember from history. June 6th, the Allies invaded Normandy. They landed on Normandy Beach, the 6th of June. By the end of August, the entire country of France had been liberated. The whole country by the end of June. We started our testing on June 6th. We still do not have the test results. Now, that's not your fault, granted, but there has been no call for a speedy result from anybody in the village. I don't ask you to respond. I know you don't. Nor has there been any question from the village about all of the ND readings on, what do we have, 40% of the canisters on one test. 4 out of 10 canisters registered 0 ND. To a layperson, to the girls over here, they say, Mom, that's weird. Doesn't take science. Look at the math. Nothing was questioned. When we get the results in another 8 months, we may go back and say, oh yeah, about those NDs, da, da, da. We could have questioned it now, but nothing is done. Please come in October.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Melanie Brown, and I'm a mother of 3 kids. We are from the Washington, D.C. area. I used to work for the government. I was an economist. And my 3 kids are musicians who really wanted to move to this area because there's an amazing violin teacher here. And I've lived my entire life for my kids. We actually relocated. We moved all the way here, settled ourselves in Gurnee in a place that we thought would be the perfect location to raise our kids and be able to run this life that we're leading. And come to find out, I'm exactly in between the 2 factories. It's really concerning. And coming here today, the thing that strikes me so much is I'm sure that you guys are all good people with the same desires and wants and needs that we all have. So it's a little confusing to me. I sort of came into the Stop ETO thing a little bit later than others, but it's becoming more and more well-known, and there's a lot of talk online about it, and so luckily I found out about it. And I'm a skeptic by nature, so I did a lot of research on it, and I was shocked that this was like in our backyard and it was being allowed. The EPA has 187 pollutants that they classify as hazardous or really dangerous. And not many of those cause cancer, but ethylene oxide is one of the worst because it's one of the few that actually causes cancer. And I'm a little confused as to how this isn't alarming to all of you, because I know that you're not just doing this to be mean or to hurt us. I think you just don't see the truth in the numbers. If 0.02 is considered a dangerous level and we're measuring things above 3, that's like 2 cents compared to $3 and something, if you want to look at it in those numbers. It's a lot of gas coming out. And I have zero doubt that by the time my kids have grown and had children, this will no longer be an issue. Like, they're going to make these companies sterilize their equipment with alternate means, of which there already exist quite a few. So it's not as if we're asking these companies to close down or to not do their job. We're asking them not to do it in a manner that harms the health of our county. It makes no sense that a company that is touted for trying to help safety of the health industry is allowed to actually send carcinogenic gases into the air that we all breathe. I plead with you to please think about the numbers that I mentioned, and instead of us looking at this as a fight and who's wrong and who's right, we're all on the same side. You guys are on our side, I'm sure. You must see that this is a really dangerous situation. And I know, like I said, in a few years, it's all going to be behind us. It's going to be gone. And we need to see, like, where is Gurnee going to stand in history? Are we going to be like the dumb idiots that, like, kept saying, oh, I don't think it's hurting us while all of our citizens are getting sick and dying? Or are we going to be a pioneer in this? I trust that you guys can be pioneers in this if you decide to act the way that you need to be acting. Please don't look at this as a fight. Look at this as a public safety concern. I read online that one of your platforms was public safety, that it was really important to you. This may not be somebody breaking into my house or holding me at gunpoint, but I have gas in my backyard. I can't let my daughter outside. I don't trust that she's safe outside the walls of my house. Even in my house, I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest. We have air filters going now. I purchased air filters. I don't have any clue whether that does anything, but as a mom, my major job for the 18 years that my kids are growing up is to protect my kids, to give my kids the absolute best opportunities I can, to keep them safe, to feed them the right foods. I've lived my entire life by this. You can ask anybody who knows me. If you asked anybody who said, what's the most important thing to Melanie Brown, they would say it is her children. She has done everything to help her kids. And I can't help them now. Only you can help them, and your own kids and your own grandchildren. Please don't look back at this in 5 years and kick yourself and say, what was I thinking? We're telling you the numbers. We tested. The numbers are saying it's dangerous. The richer, more educated communities are shutting these plants down. Please don't let us look like some sort of idiot 5 years from now that couldn't figure out that we were being damaged, because the facts are all right there, and we are. And we ask that you do come to the meetings. If there's any way I can meet with any of you personally, I would be happy to. I know that we all have the same objective here. I really do. I really trust that you guys want to do what's right for the Gurnee community. You just can't ignore the numbers at this point. Maybe a year ago, the numbers weren't clear. They're clear now. We have to do something, and we will welcome you into our cause. We will embrace you. We're not going to say, oh, but you said all of this all these years. No, we will be thrilled when you decide to join with us and to try to protect all of our kids and all of our community. Let us breathe fresh air. That's all we're asking, please. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? My name is Julie Hughes. I've lived in Gurnee since 1991. This is my first time to speak and address the village of Gurnee, the mayor, and the trustees. And I have to tell you, I learned about the ETOs in this past summer through a neighbor when I was bicycling. And he said, have you heard about the ETO problem? And I said, what's ETO? And he said he had attended a village hall meeting here in Gurnee, and he was really concerned at the reaction and the response and the reception that was given to the concern when it was presented here. He said that it was basically felt like it was being dismissed by all of you. And I couldn't believe that. I thought, if this is a problem, you know, surely our trustees and our mayor will take a stand for us. And so I wanted to see this for myself. I participated in the Waukegan meeting the other day and was astounded by the turnout from both Medline and also from the people that are part of Stop ETO. If you watch the videos, you'll see the back room was packed and people couldn't come up the stairs or the elevator. It was just standing room only. And we had to get there 2 hours early just to get a seat. And it was voted unanimously, and very reassuring to me that we had government officials who were on the right side of this to protect us. And I can't tell if you're really with us. I can't really tell, reading your faces, I can't tell who you are about ETOs. And that bothers me. So I do hope that, you know, this quibbling about whether or not you got your emails or whether you have already marked it as spam and you don't receive emails about ETOs, I hope that you can be more proactive about this. And how about this for an idea? There's a Stop ETO Facebook group. It's very active, it's very informative, and it's where a lot of the public is getting their information, and don't be deceived by this small group. This is a growing concern. There are a lot of people, and we are shaken by this problem, and we want you to step up. We want to see your energy behind this to do something for us, not for business, not for the tax base, for us, for our lives, for our livelihoods. This child who's in the hospital is making money for Medline because he's probably got to use the products that Medline produces just to be in the hospital. Isn't there something ethically wrong with a company that's creating their own business by pumping ETOs and making people sick and then selling their products back to us? I think so. I think that's horrible. I want my elected officials and my mayor to acknowledge and validate and act on the public's concern for ETOs. I want you to advocate on behalf of us, on behalf of the public, regarding the limits. We've been lied to. The information has been withheld. I didn't know what ETOs were. Somebody told me it was the stuff that comes off your barbecue grill and your bananas. And it turns out it's really not. It's a lot more than that. Please, don't make the mistake of thinking that this is just a small group that's going to go away. We're going to get bigger. We're not going away. Let me just make sure I've got everything I want to say. Stop ETO. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tatiana Santamaria. I'm a resident of Gurnee, and I am one of thousands of people who is still waiting for you, our leaders, to organize a town hall meeting. We need interpretations of the results for the whole community. We still did not get this from you. We need you to be on the board with Lake County Health Department. Invite them to interpret the results for us. We need you to be in communication with Illinois EPA. Invite them to interpret the results for us. We want information. We want you to organize this for us. We also want the meeting with Vantage. We're still waiting for the meeting to hear their work, what they are doing, and to hear their voices there. Please do your job. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I remind the board to trust the information that we're receiving and that we're posting on our website in lieu of what you heard. All right, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Thorstensen, second by trustee Balmas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.